Welcome to Cryptocurrency Masterclass. I'm Richie Hecker. Today we're going to talk about what is cryptocurrency, how you can buy it, how do tokens work, and what is the value of crypto and blockchain. Before we talk about crypto itself, let's look at what is money, because cryptocurrency at its core is digital money. There are two primary values to money. A means of exchange, that means I can use money instead of barter. So I can go to the store, and instead of, say, bringing a shirt to trade for coffee, I bring dollars. And in order for a means of exchange to be valuable, it needs to have a low transaction cost and a stable price. Because otherwise, the merchant won't accept it. Or it's too expensive. If it costs $6 to process a transaction for a cup of coffee, it's not worth it for the merchant to sell you that cup of coffee. The other thing that's important to know about money is it's a store of value, which means if I hold $1 million or $1,000 or $10 in a bank account, that money will hold value. What's important in order for something to hold value is to be low volatility. So it doesn't trade all over the place. So I know what my $10 is actually worth, right? So my $10 today, I need to know is worth $10 tomorrow. Not 12 and not 8. So with that in mind, let's learn about cryptocurrencies. Currently, there are two major cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is the original, it's the simplest, it's the pioneer. It's a brilliantly designed concept. What digital currencies, like a cryptocurrency, enables is border-free transactions. So I can buy something with a Bitcoin in New York, in Paris, in Zimbabwe, in Iraq, Afghanistan, China, anywhere where they accept Bitcoin. However, in a single country, usually there's a primary currency that's being used. In the US, it's dollars. In Japan, it's yen. So all merchants are accepting it. Therefore, that is the currency. Bitcoin's brilliance is it's not tied to a government. It's an independent currency which value is given to it as a result of many people ascribing value to it. Think about that. Digest that for a second. Bitcoin's value is what it is because people agree that's what its value is. Versus a US dollar whose value is essentially ascribed because of the good faith and credit of the US government and because of the means of how people exchange it with each other. However, Bitcoin's value is because millions of other people will give you something of value for Bitcoin without tied to a government, without tied to a tax base. It's really amazing. The US dollar is really backed by the tax base of the US population. Bitcoin has no such basis. The basis in Bitcoin is processing power. Bitcoin mining is when people put very specialized data centers online to process the transactions and record transactions to further continue Bitcoin's growth. So, we talked about cryptocurrencies for a moment. Cryptocurrencies are basically digital money that can be transferred anywhere in the world free of all borders. It's really freaking powerful. But why is it so useful? A, there's perceived instability in the global markets, which means people are worried that any one currency could be devalued by their home government, which means they are valuing a decentralized, non-government affiliated asset, such as cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, very highly because they are worried about their home country's currency either devaluing or not being able to get it across borders. So, for example, some countries have currency controls where you're not allowed to bring money from one border to the next. Now, historically, Bitcoin was used as a way to get around currency controls. However, that is being stopped by governments now, where they're putting restrictions on the flow of Bitcoin the way they put restrictions on the flow of their home currencies. But it's important to note that is one of the original values of a cryptocurrency. The real deep value for cryptocurrency, at least according to what I believe, is the fact that it's so easy to transfer. You don't have to deal with conversions of dollars to yen, to renminbi, to rubles. It's simply like a coin, a crypto coin is a crypto coin. And you can easily transport it and use it in a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. It reduces the transaction cost of global business. So the value is of a cryptocurrency, reduction of transaction cost of competing and building and working and running your company across borders. Because of blockchain, there's even more benefits to why cryptocurrency is a superior form of technology. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is the database of the future. So the way a database works is usually you have a single user, an admin, who has the keys to the database. It's called centralization, because that admin can now make changes, can move things around from table or field to field or table to table. And you hope that your admin is honest. You hope there's no data breach, because if someone gets the password of that admin, they can get access to the entire database. What blockchain does is it decentralizes it. What that means is there is no central database at the core. Every user holds the keys or their password that no one else can hack unless they hack that individual user. So blockchain makes data breaches much more difficult, because let's say there's 1 million users in a credit bureau. For someone to hack that credit bureau, they would need to hack 1 million individual accounts and put it all together. The admin does not hold the keys to each of the users. I know I'm simplifying things here. There's more complexity to it. But the most basic framework in place is just understand the concept of decentralization leads to security, because it's very difficult to hack everything at the same time. The other value of blockchain is all the transactions are recorded publicly, which means there's a public audit trail, which means everybody knows what happened. So he said, she said, and all those issues that happen when someone says, no, you didn't do this, the database didn't record it correctly, those all go away. It reduces the cost of auditing significantly and increases transparency significantly. So those are the real values of a blockchain technology. The downsides of blockchain today is they're very slow to process transactions, because the way a blockchain works is every transaction is recorded over a copy of every other transaction that preceded it. So essentially, if your transaction number 1 million, in order to record transaction 1,000,001, you need to re-record the first 1,000,000 transactions all over again. It takes a lot of processing power and a lot of time, and it gets expensive. There are ways to solve that, but for today's class, just work with me to understand the limitations of today's current blockchain technology. So for example, the cost of processing a Bitcoin transaction is in the multiple dollars per transaction, versus the cost of processing a credit card can be in the pennies. So just work with me here, and as you start getting comfortable what blockchain and cryptocurrencies are, we'll be able to go into more depth in the future to really understand how to make these things work in the long term and build a strong, sustainable cryptocurrency ecosystem and strong, sustainable cryptocurrencies. So now that we've covered what is the value of money, what is the value of cryptocurrencies, let's talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum and what they are, and then we'll talk about how you can buy or sell them. So Bitcoin is the simplest. Bitcoin is basically an open ledger where all these transactions are recorded. It is the most ubiquitous cryptocurrency on the planet, and people buy and sell and trade it all the time. Its limitations are processing speed. There are ways to manipulate the entire market, because if you have consensus or 51% of all the coins or all the votes, you can rewrite the rules of the entire currency going forward. Historically, 51% is called direct democracy. Direct democracy, if you look at it from a political standpoint, has always done one thing: failed. Because it's 51% generally means you either cornered the market in votes, or you can simply build a short-term consensus. Ultimately, you need a much stronger voting base, or you need to elect people that can make decisions that are more complex, the way an organizational structure or a corporation works. So for example, the way a corporation typically works is shareholders elect a board, the board makes decisions on the company and hiring the CEO then makes decisions. It's a hierarchy. In cryptocurrency, there is no hierarchy. So direct democracy is possible, and direct democracy is fundamentally beautiful and dangerous. Which is it? Depends on the day, depends on what side of the coin you fall on, so to speak. But just understand its strengths is also its limitations. Bitcoin, however, has a very slow processing speed, and that creates a very dangerous long-term issue with it. Now, to counter that is that it's ubiquitous today. So what is it? My view is I think Bitcoin will be the leading cryptocurrency for at least the next 12 months from today of recording. From there, I don't have a view that goes beyond 12 months in this market today. Now let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum is basically an app store. So the beauty of Ethereum is it enables something called smart contracts. Smart contracts are if-then statements built into the programming language that underlies the technology. So what does that mean in reality? Let's say you and I had a smart contract. If you did X, you would get Y compensation for it. That is the benefit of a smart contract. It builds the ability to do something else into the coin itself, and then it's recorded on the blockchain, similar to Bitcoin is recorded on the blockchain, similar to how it has an audit trail. Those are similar to how it's not tied to any country or border. So Ethereum has the same benefits of Bitcoin, but it adds a smart contract concept. That smart contract enables you to do a lot of stuff with the technology. It's really cool. However, the most powerful use of Ethereum as of this session today is enabling other token sales or ICOs or initial coin offerings, or token fundraisers or token generation events. Those are all terms for the same fundamental thing of people selling a new coin to the market. Ethereum, those smart contracts make it easy for someone else to mint a new coin using the same framework. That's why there are hundreds of cryptocurrencies in the US today, because it's so easy to create your own. And Ethereum is the underlying app store technology that powers all of them. And so Bitcoin and Ethereum serve different values. Bitcoin today, its value, people are using it as a pseudo store of value, but really they're using it as the most reliable and stable out of all the cryptocurrencies that can still appreciate in value over time. Because it's running so high and it's trading up, people are holding it because they think it'll go up more than the stock market will go up. And it's, in theory, the best store of value out of any cryptocurrency today. It has the most ubiquitous distribution. However, as we covered earlier, it does not achieve the two fundamental principles of money. It is not a good store of value today because it has too high volatility, and it's not a good means of exchange because the transaction costs are high and it's not stable. So what will Bitcoin become 5 years from now? Maybe it gets low volatility, stable, and transaction costs go down and it becomes the new money of the future. Or maybe not. Let's look at the value of Ethereum for a moment. Ethereum's value is predicated on the fact that there are multiple new ICOs or token sales on top of Ethereum. The way that works is people take their ETH and they exchange it for a new coin. That means they have to buy the damn thing in the first place. That means the value of the ETH goes up. That means the market cap goes up. Let me pose a very simple and delicate question. Let's say, for example, there's been 1,000 new coins minted on top of Ethereum. What happens if 900 of them fail? What will happen to the value of Ethereum? So we'll take a look at these other new coins in a few moments, or altcoins, or utility coins, or app coins. There's lots of names for these new coins that are being built using this technology. However, the challenge of Ethereum itself is it's tied to the value of the new coins minted on it. If the new coins minted on it are long-term successful, it will itself be successful. However, if the new coins on it turn out to be unsuccessful, it itself will tank and plummet. Let that settle in for a moment. Again, I don't know timing on this. However, I'll put a stake in the ground and say my prediction is Bitcoin and Ethereum will have a good solid 12 months before anything happens. The reason for that is it takes a while for a new coin to build reputation in the market. And it will take a long time for these ICOs or tokens to flesh out and which ones will fail or survive because they have so much money. Eventually, what will happen is we'll understand which of these new tokens that are launched have strong fundamental token economies. And the ones that actually have strong use cases for those tokens will survive. The ones that have weak use cases will filter itself away. And a strong use case means both. It solves a problem and will have very strong distribution and very strong activity within that distribution set. And so far, that is yet to be seen and how these new coins are being used. So, now that we've covered the basics of cryptocurrency, money, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and blockchain technology, let's take 30 seconds and I'll explain you how, and we can talk about altcoins. So, these altcoins are the coins minted on top of another coin, for example, on top of the Ethereum's underlying systems. Altcoins are basically used to do something else. It's like a derivative of Ethereum. Now, will they be successful? Maybe some will serve very strong purposes in their own token economies and some won't. But just understand that they're fundamentally different things. Currently, Bitcoin and Ethereum are the two things that are the most liquid in the market, and they have the most value because they serve the greatest purpose beyond the coins out there, in my personal view today. So, let's talk for a second about how do you buy this stuff. First thing, how do you buy anything? You go to Google, you run a search, and you say, how do I buy Bitcoin? Right now, what you need to do is you need to go to an exchange and need what's called a wallet that's connected to an exchange. Coinbase, as of this time, is the most popular one in the US. I would recommend if you're an American, just go there. I don't have any views on the company itself. I'm just saying they're the largest in the space today and the easiest to work with. And they have requisite licenses, so they're in a pretty good place. So just give them a credit card or send them a bank transfer, give them US dollars, and then buy back some Bitcoin or Ethereum. Then, once you start getting more comfortable with it, you can then do more advanced things. You can transfer it from there to another exchange. You can transfer it from there into what's called cold storage. You can transfer what's there from there into a USB, and then essentially store it on a USB stick. You can take Bitcoin off the internet. It's freaking cool. And put it on a USB stick. And then take that with you wherever you go. And you're literally transporting money with you. What's interesting is people equate Bitcoin to digital gold. Bitcoin is actually not digital gold. It's digital high-grade diamonds. High-grade diamonds. You can take a single small diamond, stick it in your pocket, and bring it across the border. And now you have currency that you can convert into whatever the local currency is. This is what people do when they flee countries. They use diamonds. Bitcoin, if you have a USB stick that you can put in your pocket, you can take it across border and give it to someone else in an off-market or over-the-counter transaction, and they may give you local currency back in exchange for your USB stick. It's really cool. Digital diamonds. Ethereum is really, let's call it the Apple App Store. The value of the App Store is based on the value of the apps times or multiplied by the distribution and activity. So if you have 1 million apps and there's no users, it's got limited value. If you have 1 million apps and 1 million users but no one's using the apps, it has limited value. If you have 1 million apps and 1 million users using it every day, it has a huge amount of value. So ultimately, the long-term value of Ethereum is how the coins minted on them are used, are distributed, and how frequently they're used. And the value of Bitcoin is how someone can actually use it to transport it cross-border. If it's the most stable of all the cryptocurrencies, it's digital diamonds, can people really use it like that? Can they exchange it in an over-the-counter transaction if they needed to for some local currency? Time will tell what regulations will come in place. Every country has their own regulations and looks at these things differently. Some countries will allow you to do whatever you want with cryptocurrencies. Others will force you to register it in a bank like a dollar in the future. Others will force all the exchanges to register. Others won't care. It's truly a new global order for how cryptocurrency is disrupting the flow of money and what it means to have money and hold value and exchange value. So back to how to buy it. Just go to an exchange, give them your credit card or your bank account, Get some coins back. Start with simple. I suggest, and this is not financial advice whatsoever, this is just the simplest thing of how do you buy something. Buy $1 worth of it, or $100, or $10, whatever amount is. Get comfortable. Then you can take it off of the simple exchanges into more complex exchanges, or take it offline into cold, and you can store it in cold storage, which is more secure. Because if you keep it on an exchange and the exchange goes down, you don't have access to your coin anymore. So what a lot of people do is they'll store it offline until they want to trade it. Then they'll connect it to the exchange just when they want to trade it, and they'll take it offline once they've done trading. And there's a lot more work involved. It's actually a really complex process of how do you do information security around cryptocurrencies. But for the purpose of today's class and learning about it, just understand the mechanics of what's possible and what people generally do. Once you have it, you can do anything with it. You can go then buy these altcoins. You can then take your Bitcoin and exchange it in an ICO. And you can buy new coin. And you can hold new coin. And you can sell new coin. And buy new coin number 2. And sell new coin number 2. And buy new coin number 17. And build a portfolio of all these coins. Now, one thing to keep in mind. Most of these coins are not investment products. So they're not meant to be bought to appreciate in value. And that's something we'll cover in the next class. Because it's very, very nuanced. And the regulation that's going to come about, which we'll talk about soon, is what will determine the tax status. Like, do you have to pay taxes when you buy and sell Bitcoin? When you receive Bitcoin, if someone gives you a gift of Bitcoin, do you have to pay taxes? Is it count as part of as a gift? If your company sells tokens in a token fundraiser or ICO, are you paying sales tax like you're selling a product, or are you paying no tax like you're raising money and selling a security? Is it a commodity? Is it an asset? Is it a currency? All these things have not been determined. And so what I'm doing, and the place that I'm serving in this community, is I co-founded a group called a Crypto Working Group. A Crypto Working Group aims to be the FINRA, or the self-regulating organization for cryptocurrency. FINRA basically regulates the financial markets. Its members are the financial institutions themselves. And it's a self-regulating organization that sets governance and regulations for the industry. So the Crypto Working Group is bringing together all of the, well, we hope to be most or all of the industry insiders, along with the Wall Street institutions, to come up with a framework for governance and systems and processes that will underlie the market. So as regulations come about, we can work in hand in partnership with all the different regulatory agencies in the US and globally to set the standards for how cryptocurrencies are created, are mined, are traded, and exchanged. Because that will do better for the entire economy of cryptocurrencies. Everyone will benefit by having a regulatory framework in place. Thanks, and we'll talk again soon.